too, which was very interesting. And he also got afraid when he had the knife because the victims came and were attacking him. So that was interesting to see the difference between those three serial killers. Yeah. And another thing I noticed with Holmes and de Bourget, they came up with the typologies for serial murders. So what I noticed, all three of them had different typologies. So who was it? Wayne had power and control. So in the textbook, it defines power and control as strives to get satisfaction by having complete life or death control over the victims. And with Wayne, he had that sexual aggression with his victims. And he had the power to do whatever he wanted, and he always went too far and just killed all his victims. Yeah. And another thing with David, he had mission-oriented typology. And in the textbook, it's defined as that there's a particular group of people who are undesirable and must be destroyed or eliminated. Yeah, exactly. And with him, he believed that all women needed to be destroyed and rid of the world because of his personal history and what happened with him growing up as a child and losing his mom, his biological mother, and his biological father as well because of that birth and all his complications. Yeah. And with Jeffrey, he was hedonistic. And for hedonistic, there's three types. He was the lust...
the pleasure. Yeah, that was really surprising to me, actually. Yeah.
So hedonistic, they strive for pleasure and thrill-seeking and feel that people are objects to use and for one's own enjoyment. So I noticed that Jeffrey, he just went to the bar, picked up boys, took him home, and just did all these horrible things to them, raped them, and he even ate their body parts just to feel more attached to them.
Yeah, it was also a sense of power and control as well, like
and for sexual arousal.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of kind of typologies as well, I noticed that Wayne in specific is a sexual sadist. Did you notice that as well?
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
His ways, and his mark, his
everything about
him.
Yeah. That's exactly. So, we've already discussed personal history, family background, and their motivations for the killing. And now we're going to discuss a little bit about their punishment and their outcome. So, what did you find from their interview based on what they said? What did you find in terms of that?
The things that I saw that were different between all three was the way that they got caught. It was greatly different. For David, he would always send letters to New York and the Post. And finally, one day when he wrote for a parking ticket, they compared his handwriting.
Yeah, amazing.
And they caught him.
Wayne as well, because he also got caught by the bite marks, and I thought that was really interesting that they were able to find whose teeth it was.
Yeah, they got the orthodontist to check.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Amazing how they even got teeth marks
from
the orthodontist could compare teeth marks.
I know, and on a female's breast.
Exactly. That was very interesting.
Phenomenal.
And another thing that I saw was different was the different counts that they received.
Oh, yes.
So Jeffrey, he got 15 counts of murder.
Which is absurd.
Yeah, Wayne got 4 and David got 6, which was crazy.
Yeah, and so those were all life in prison.
Yes, they all were life in prison. And actually one of them died in the hospital.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think that was
David. Yes, David died in hospital. Whereas Jeffrey also died, and it's pretty ironic because Jeffrey died in jail, which...
He was killed by another prisoner,
Yes, he was. And what's funny about this is the way he was killed was the same way that he killed his first victim. So I thought that was really interesting as well.
And one is still alive.
Which is also crazy.
So what are some of the comparisons that you saw?
Well, I think, of course, the whole aspect of them all receiving life in prison. And then another really huge factor I noticed was that Jeffrey and David both tried to plead insane, but were both granted perfectly sane, and I mean that's why they went and had to go to jail, and they didn't have to go through any therapy like hospitalization or anything like that. Yeah. So another similarity that I think like the last one that I noticed was that both Jeffrey and David, they both cooperated. Whereas I think Wayne just kind of, even as you saw in the interview, he still pleaded as if he was not guilty.
He was surprised that he was even being charged for that.
Yeah.
He believed he didn't even do it.
Yeah, even though evidence shows. And I think that's different. I think like too with Jeffrey getting caught, I mean the police just I think, yeah, it was just different in terms of, like, evidence. There's so much evidence available, and Jeffrey I think you just have to give up at that point. I mean, it's come so far, and you just
David was laughing, too, and he was very cooperative. I was surprised. Yeah. I actually don't think that any of those serial killers believed that their crime scenes were mixed. I think they thought it was organized, that they cleaned everything, got rid of the evidence, but really when the police came, they found so much evidence. It was very mixed.
Yeah, it's true. And, like, you wouldn't think that by biting someone they would be able to find your teeth marks, or even just, like, on a parking ticket, you know, small stuff like that. And I think Jeffrey in specific was, like, the huge representation of that, because, like it says, things might have begun carefully planned, but deteriorated into something so disorganized. And that's exactly what happened. His victim escaped, and he wasn't expecting that.
And same with David. He was writing those letters, and I think he didn't think that they could catch him with just his handwriting.
Yeah,
with a parking ticket too.
Exactly. It's absurd. Another thing that it mentions with punishment and outcome is 5 sources of information about serial killers. So this was brought up around 1998, I believe, as well. And it talks about, you know, like, the scene of the killing and all these different things. And one thing that really stood out to me was the confessions of the serial killer, because they're the ones that provide most of the information. And when it comes to that, they all sort of, well, except for Wayne.
Yes.
They all explained and provided an explanation for their killings, but Wayne sort of still denied that. And
he still believed he wasn't guilty for his actions.
Yeah, exactly.
So in reference to the interview, David and Jeffrey, they both tried to plead insane, but the justice system, they found them to be sane, and they were not found criminally responsible on account of a mental disorder, but they were found criminally responsible.
Yeah, in general.
Because they were sane. So this not criminally responsible on account of a murder.
I noticed that as well with Jeffrey. Like he said, he thought he was insane. He thought, like, what sane person would do these crimes? So yeah.
So I think that wraps up our 4 main points of all 3 serial killers, and I think we went in great depth of comparing and contrasting all 3 serial killers.
Yep, I agree. And all 3 offered such different yet somewhat similar stories as serial killers. And you know, this book too, it's available. It's where we got a lot of our sources from in the King Campus Library. So if you have any interest in psychopaths and serial killers, or, you know, don't feel
don't hesitate.
Yes, don't hesitate to contact us.
It's important to be aware of all these mental problems, psychopaths and serial killers, to be aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
Make sure you're safe.
And recognizing those in other people. Yeah, so I'd like to say thank you for joining us tonight, and it's been great here at Seneca News. Thank you, and good night.
To bite it, like, I like rough sex, you know. I'm just. Why are you laughing?
I'm sorry.
Why are you laughing?
I looked at Jen, I was like, oh shit. With David and Jeff.
Easy right there.
That's pretty crazy right there.
Into this with the personal history. So, wanna say what you compared? And another.
Sorry, I wasn't ready to get started. No, it talks a lot about how the central elephant. The central elephant. Okay, go ahead.
And now we're just gonna move on to
Just now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, holy shit. I was just gonna start. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay,
Thank God. Jesus, that took